It said, I like being a woman in a man's world. After all, men can't wear dresses, but women can definitely wear the pants. But is it really a man's world? Food for thought. Keep that thinking cap on as we now introduce our second panel. An important issue of mentoring in the event industry is going to be discussed by the second panel. Now, Ms. Aarti Matu spoke a little about it in our first panel. She touched upon this topic, but let's discuss it at length. How can women find the right mentors and become mentors themselves? To talk on this topic, I'm going to invite some leading names in the event industry, all super achievers in their own right. Let's introduce our panel. First up, a woman who is designed with an unstoppable spirit. She is an app. She sets the bar so high, and she is such an inspiration to so many. Geetika Ganjudhar, anchor, actor, communication coach, and founder, Ministry of Talk. A woman well placed to talk about mentoring with all the actual mentoring that she really does. We're also going to request her to lead this conversation. And our other panelist, Lydia Buthello, Head of Events, Geo World Center, who came up from scratch in the industry, donned many hats, and now spearheads all planning and execution for large-scale events across the board for Reliance. Poonam Lal, MD, Marketing Solutions and Chair, CSR, We Care Initiatives. Ema, who has come from a small town and built her company, taking it to new heights with quality work and defining strategies for marquee brands. Reema Sanghvi, MD, Maximus Mice, Media Solutions, co-founder, Pinkathon. She believes good delivery comes from years of experience as she goes about creating exemplary productions and events at Maximus. And also Sushma Gaikwad, co-founder, ICE Global and Wizcraft MIME, experiential communication specialist, leadership coach, dedicated educationist, and one of the first few women who joined the event industry. Over to you, Geetika, to start this conversation with your own perspective.
Happy Women's Day to everyone out there. Yay, I'm in the show. Okay. Thank you. So to start with, very happy Women's Day to everyone out there. And coincidentally, the theme of Women's Day this year, as marked by United Nations, is Women in Leadership Achieving an Equal Future in COVID-19 World. And we had a very interesting panel early in the morning talking about this very thing. And now this is another panel here about a very important topic, mentoring. Now, I've been given this responsibility to do the opening comments of this panel. I hope I do justice with all the ace, towering women with me on this panel. I'm delighted to be with them on the same panel. Female mentoring really is the mentoring of, of women by women to further their career and development prospects. And a female mentor, many of you would know, is sometimes called a femtor, like a gladiator, a femtor. Now, women mentoring women is very important. Men and women both have a very natural desire for community building, but women have very distinct obstacles, very distinct obligations, and very distinct aspirations. We bring a very unique perspective to supporting and building female communities within our organizations. It's particularly vital to female advancement in organizations or industries where fewer women have leadership roles. We typically measure success by what many consider to be masculine qualities, but I believe we could all benefit from celebrating feminine leadership attributes more than we really do. Women face different challenges than men and therefore have unique needs in the workplace. So it's crucial to understand these needs in order to ensure that women don't have to make grand personal sacrifices to succeed in their careers. Additionally, I believe that women leaders have a responsibility to use their power to lift other women up. Why? Because mentored women are statistically more successful in the workplace than non-mentored women. Yeah, that's what the figures say. They rise to positions of power more quickly with fewer roadblocks than women who don't have a mentor. But having said that, me and my co-panelists, we all decided that we would not just talk about women mentoring women. We would also somewhere in this conversation talk about gender neutral mentoring. That's my cup of tea for the evening. I can't. Thank you. So let me start by giving a very nice example of how Steve Jobs mentored Mark Zuckerberg. Uh, for those of you who know about this, Steve Jobs and Mark Zuckerberg, the two are said to have taken long walks around Palo Alto, discussing how Zuckerberg might manage and develop Facebook as an entrepreneurship. This was way back in 2011 when Steve died, and how Mark expressed his grief and shared to the world what a big void his life now had with his mentor gone. Another very beautiful example of mentor-mentee is this is my favorite one, Maya Angelou and Oprah Winfrey. Can you imagine? I mean, there is this giant of a woman, Maya Angelou, and with such a large heart, she mentors uh, probably the women's most loved speaker, the world's most loved speaker ever, Oprah Winfrey. And by mentoring Oprah, Maya just becomes even greater because what she's given the world is such a fantastic piece of human. So let's all get cracking and talking about mentoring. Let's start with women to women and then also get into a gender neutral debate. I'm going to throw this open with one very interesting quote that I kind of picked out here from the net, which says there's a special place in hell for women who don't help and mentor other women. Madeline Albright. So with those words, I'm going to hand this over to one of my most favorite women professionals out there. She's also a good friend. Lydia Bothello, Head of Events, Geo World Center. We're coming into you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Deepika. First, I'd like to take this opportunity to appreciate all the hard work, all the fights that you overcome in a day-to-day life and stand strong to fight another day with no regret, no intention of giving up. And that makes me look up to all of you guys. And that says Happy Women's Day. But what's more important to me today is that women need to support women. And like Gitika rightly said, I think that's I don't know if there's a special place in hell for women who don't support other women, but I'd like it to be. Unfortunately, we stand here and celebrate ourselves as women, but we look at when we look at ourselves and we look at other women, sometimes we judge them, without even considering what their struggles are. But we think our struggles are better and are worse than the others, unfortunately. And most women today are hesitant to reach out to another woman because they fear being judged far more than being judged by a man, I must say. Um, and talking about mentorship, today I'd like to believe that a true mentor is not only taking up a couple of women and putting them under your wing and trying to sort of get them to mentor, but it's on general look at every woman and put ourselves out there in their position and look at our own struggles and think that there is a difference or make a difference. So I saw that, very strangely today, everybody's been putting up posts on social media. And one of my really good friend, very, accomplished individual, put up this post who she thanked all her mentors for being who she is. And you know what the strangest part was? There's not a single woman on that list. And that tells me a lot about where we are today, at the same time, the gap that we have as well. I have been blessed with some really amazing women that I've met on my way up here, but unfortunately, I met them much later in my life. A lot more evolved I was as well, a lot more grown up I was as well. But I feel that today we need to be there for the younger generation. And well, that's my start of the conversation and debate. So over to you, Poonam. I think.
Lydia, before our next speaker comes on, I have to add to what you just said, Lydia. I've been here for 22 years, and my mentors have only been men. And it's not that I don't know great women out there. I have some women who are my closest friends who are just fantastic women. But all throughout my career, I've only been mentored by men. Isn't that strange? Yeah. Can we take on the conversation? Have someone else from the panel now?
I think Poonam, I was
Yes, we're going by the alphabet.
Alphabetical order. We are busy
Yes,
looking
Poonam
for
Lal,
this
Head of
alphabet.
Marketing Solutions, and the Chair at We Care EMA. Poonam Lal, please.
Geetika, why are you being a moderator today? You're not a moderator today.
Your speaker today, Geetika.
Yeah, Lydia, I'm
Bad
lucky.
habits die hard. Old habits die hard.
Lydia, I'm extremely lucky that though the mentorship came late for me in this industry, I have one of the mentors sitting right here who I hold responsible for changing a lot of things in me. And I can't thank Sushma enough for being this superwoman mentor in my life. And she kind of really took me under her wings and gave me so much confidence to do things that I've been wanting to do for this industry. So thank you, Sushma. I love you. Having said that, I feel that very few women are in a position to be mentors. That's where this whole debate is, that women do not rise to the leadership position to be able to mentor the young ones who come in. And therefore, we need to look at a more inclusive mentorship panel so that both men and women are available to do so. And yes, the women can still mentor their teams. That's very important. I find a lot of young girls talking about the fact that they do not find support within their team, which is led by women a lot of times. So I think it's important to get that change, and I think that will come from educating them and giving them the confidence that by sharing knowledge you're really increasing it. And there is you can going to be blessed that you grooming people to take forward a legacy that probably you have contributed to. So that's how I see it. And having said that, I think it is very critical that for women to succeed across industries, they have mentors available to them to guide them, to add value to their growth trajectory, and lead them or guide them with wisdom, knowledge, and experience. And so that they can soar, deliver great results, and reach the peak of their careers. I guess that's what I'd like to say. Oh, yeah, I can't, I have to take this opportunity to also say the only person who could actually, when I joined the event industry, I looked for mentors, but there weren't any. This is about nearly 15, 20 years back. And there was nobody who could teach me. And I was dying to, find somebody who could give me that knowledge that I craved or the skill that I wanted to learn. There weren't many. And finally, I found one in Sabas. And I have never found a teacher more willing to teach, share knowledge so freely, and open opportunities or give you opportunities that wouldn't come your way normally, which is the role of a perfect mentor. And again, for that, I salute him. You need more men like him.
Poonam, it's not just you. I think you, me, Sushma, all three of us have Sabas Joseph in common as a mentor. I think it's Rima next up, Rima Sangvi, MD Maximize. See, I'm still being moderator and founder Thinkathon.
No, but thank you, Pritika, and well said, Poonam. I mean, you're so right about the fact that, even when I entered the event industry, I don't know if I found a mentor, but I learned whatever I did from Sushil Shamlal Vatwa. So I want to thank him today. I want to start by thanking him that, I started my career in events with him, and I learned what I learned from him and Biju Gariba. So both of them are together. And yes, and of course, Sabas Joseph, our common factor.
I think he's the common factor between everybody.
Yes, absolutely. And Sushma. Sushma has been a friend and a soulmate, So I think, Sushma, you too, in my life, have played a very, very important role. But I think Lydia, taking from where you left it, that there are very few female mentors. But I honestly feel that mentors, male, female, I don't think that really matters. I think someone whom you connect with, who gives you time, or whether you can snatch some time away from them, maintains your confidentiality, is able to comprehend what you're trying to say, is able to give you that push in life, is able to inspire you at every stage of your life, is able to listen to your problems and give you the right advice, is a mentor. So whether a male or a female, and where you find your comfort is where you need to go. It doesn't matter, male, female. I think, if female mentors are not, if there are not many, is because we are not rising up to that role. So if we need up our game, we need to get more knowledgeable, we need to show and portray the knowledge that we need to portray, and we need to show that yes, we can be those mentors. So whether we select man or woman doesn't matter. It's who you are comfortable with and where your soul lies, and what is going to take you that many steps ahead, and what inspires you. So yeah, that's my take on mentorship for sure. And there are people at every stage of your life who is going to affect you, and every stage will have a mentor. So I just think we need to pick and choose, and it could be anybody, male, female, doesn't matter. But if females are not there, and if we feel that, then we need to up our game for sure.
Absolutely. I think that's the point I was trying to make as well, because I've had amazing mentors. Like I said, I've had a mix of both, and later on in my stage of life. But the point I was making is that till date, it's I think barring Shushma here, who has been there, but very few people have been lucky to have a Shushma in their life. And that's the point I'm making, because there's no that part which you rightly said, which was the comfort. And the comfort of going to another woman, which unfortunately is not there. That's why, I mean, women supporting women. Unfortunately, in the world that we are in, we have the mother-in-law syndrome, that I call it. Sorry, Shushma, I'm taking away your time, but just wanted to say that it's, often we go mother-in-law treating, daughter-in-law very badly. And then when you become the mother-in-law, instead of, being the other person to start looking at them and saying that, oh, I was in these shoes before, you decide to treat the person the same way, which is unfortunately, the way of the world right now. And I feel that's where we need to come in and change. And that's why I feel that we need to look at ourselves, which you're right about. And that's it. Shushma, sorry.
No, it's absolutely wonderful, first of all, to hear everyone. So I'm not going to allow Gitika to introduce me, because I do not want her to be a moderator here. So Gitika, thank you for doing it till this moment, but we'll handle it, okay? So, well, my name is Sushma. I'm the co-founder of Ice Global. Huh?
Gitika empower us to do our thing.
Yeah, she's my sweetheart.
Just to tell you all, I was told to do it.
Yeah. No. We want you. I'm mentoring you to tell you that you don't need to do it. We'll do it ourselves. So, I'm the co-founder of Ice Global and Westcraft Mind, and I have just a simple take on mentorship. What is mentorship? Let's just understand that fundamentally. Mentorship very simply means guidance. And I think, number one, our job or our pivotal role as entrepreneurs, and we so happen to be women entrepreneurs. Yeah, I don't want to take a gender spin on this. As entrepreneurs, it's our role to guide. Now, who do we guide? We guide our employees, our teammates. We also, many times, we also guide industry leaders, seniors who have been walking the path ahead of us with our perspective, with our insight. Many times, there is a lot of peer-to-peer guidance also that we can really embark on to make a difference out there. And there is another level of guidance, which is for those who possibly are looking at a future in the industry. That is the new entrance in the industry. Now, when we're guiding everyone, it's very important for us as mentors to understand, what are we guiding them on? We're guiding them on maybe a path that we've already walked, with insight, experience, and understanding. But I would feel most important, we're guiding them on the potential that they can be, that they don't see in themselves. And I think once we understand that as the core fundamental of mentorship of any kind, whether it's in the event industry, media industry, television industry, I mean, any logistics industry, if we understand that, what we've really got to understand is our role as mentors. And when we take on that role, the biggest benefit that there is as a role as a mentor is that we can impact the industry positively. We can shift the narrative of the industry positively. We can make such a big difference by enabling someone else to actually reach their potential. I know it sounds like a FB slogan, yet I think that is critical. And I think we need to, all of us, take under our wings as many people as we possibly can to mentor. But more important, I really feel, is something that is very prevalent in corporate India, which have really been doing many workshops and been really propagating this conversation, and that is called reverse mentoring, where we should be open to what the next generation is mentoring us on. Because when there is reverse mentoring that really happens, the whole I know it all syndrome is completely eradicated, and the learning happens on both ends of the spectrum. And that is when the industry can truly grow. When we start listening to each other, generation next and generation before start really discussing best practices, start discussing challenges, start discussing the way forward, I think that's when we can really make a difference. So I'm really not going to go into the gender thing, but since all of you have mentioned, I got to mention my first mentor because of who I am today. She excavated me from the shell that I was in. Her name is Zareen Khan. I was only 17 years old when I joined her as a stenographer, and in 3 years, she developed me into a full-fledged interior decorator. And then when I joined the event industry in 1993, it was Andre Virafin Sabas who actually guided me, one of my pillars in actually making a big difference in this industry. And they still continue to guide me, and I'm forever grateful. And all of you guys, my peers, I learn a lot from you, from Gitika, from Rima, from Lydia, our coffee is still pending, and from Poonam. Lydia, you're on my mentorship list, okay, for that coffee, and my Poonam, because you guys have taught me so much. You've taught me, each of you have taught me so much, and I'm so happy to keep learning. So that's my 2.5 bits. Back to you, Gitika.
So, we can take this conversation forward. My suggestion here, ladies, is that there are 3 C's of mentoring. I was talking to Poonam earlier. The 3 C's of mentoring really being counseling, consulting, and cheerleading. And I'd like to share with you my life experience of how I have managed to weave the 3 into mentoring. So a few years ago, when I felt that I had, in my career, reached a point where, I could open my heart, be large-hearted, and give back to the industry that has given me everything that I have professionally. And I really, really, from the bottom of my heart, I felt that I owed it. It was my responsibility, because up ahead in the next few years, probably in say 3 or 4, 5 years, I will see my volumes falling in terms of business. I will gravitate towards doing more select number of shows, select kinds of events. I will still do it till I'm standing. I will still talk. But I've had such a great run that I just felt it was so important for me to get the next generation up and standing. And I've really, really honestly tried to do that over the last few years. As a mentor, I'm available to them 24/7, really, on WhatsApp, on calls, on emails. And there are hundreds and hundreds I have spoken, and I have this thing. So, it's a very tricky role to play, because as mentors, you tend to sometimes counsel and also then completely consult and give them solutions, and then also be a cheerleader where you don't need to be one, and you have to turn around and tell them that this is not really going too well. So over the time, I've honed my skills, and I'll give you an example. There is this young MC who lives in Bombay, and just the other day she called me and she said that, you know, I've been putting out certain kind of videos and I'm expressing myself in all those reels and those video posts that I'm making, and I'm doing exactly what I want to with my body and my clothes and my gestures and all of that. And I'm now getting told that the men in the industry are saying that I'm desperate for work, and this is why I'm doing what I'm doing. And should I stop doing this because lest my work shuts down in corporate events? You know. So I had been anyway noticing her videos for many months, and I had been keeping quiet. And I said she has to live and learn. She has to live and learn. And when she came to me that day, I said, I'm not going to give you a solution. Okay, I'm going to tell you the pros and cons of this, but I still want you to take your own decision based on what I'm telling you in terms of pros and cons. I'm not going to tell you to do this and this will happen. Don't do this. This, you know, this will not happen. So it's a very tricky process, mentoring. You can't spoon feed the people that you are playing mentor to. You have to let them, you know, you have to let them go out there, make their mistakes, have their back, and when they recover and stand back on their feet, you know, do a big 3 cheers for them. So honestly, I have really tried over the last few years, and sometimes mentoring can also be a very emotionally distressing process where it backfires on you completely, where the very person that you mentor with a very pure heart turns around and, you know, tries to deconstruct you or to take you down in other ways. So it's also a very tricky process, especially as an artist in our industry. But then you have to have a heart of steel, you have to have a very big heart, and you have to continue to bless everybody along the way, because this is what we have received from the industry, the number of blessings that we have received. So it's very different, I guess, Sushma, Reema, Poonam, Lydia, for you, because you're heading organizations. It's very different for me as an artist. In fact, I see Roshan Abbas. He's one of his professions only should be mentored. So he mentors people on a daily basis, you know. And if you really look closely, he's really getting a lot out of it as a person. It's something that he does every day, and as a result, he has also given the industry so much of talent that is now, you know, flowering, developing, rising. So alongside when we mentor the people, let me tell you, conversations with a lot of MCs out there, I'm learning from them. Yeah, they're doing some fantastic new stuff. They have new techniques, they have new technologies. They do try new stuff, and I'm greedy too. So I'm also learning from them. So it's actually a two-way street where even the mentor hones his or her skills of leadership, communication, empathy, all of that. What do you guys think?
I think we lost her. Kritika?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Did you just finish?
Yes.
We can't hear you. We can't hear you. That's why.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you now. We can hear you now.
But could you hear me while I spoke for 500 minutes?
Yeah. We did. Yes, we heard
don't
you.
have to just
Yeah, but I just want to, butt in there and tell you, that while you were mentoring the girl, did you not? You have to tell her the pros and cons. But one of the biggest aspects of mentorship is honesty and candidness. So I think that to tell her upfront what you thought as a mentor to her is very, very important, because that's when she will select.
No, I don't agree.
You don't agree? You feel that doesn't work?
No, I think when you spoon feed people,
Geetika, voice is echoing.
you guys carry on. I'll just put on my headphones.
Okay. Over to you, Lydia.
Oh, okay.
I'll be the moderator.
So my view is very simple.
There's
While
echoing.
Yeah,
It's echoing, girls.
I think the whole thing.
Yeah.
The whole studio is echoing. This is like an echo point in Mahabaleshwar. Okay, it's better now. It's fine now.
Is it?
Lydia, go. Yeah.
From my perspective, I think it's still good, right?
Yeah, it's still a
Yeah.
Why don't you go ahead, Reema, and then I'll. take it.
Can you guys hear me loud and clear?
Yes.
Yes? No?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, well, what I was trying to discuss with Geetika at that point of time is that honesty and candidness, from a mentor is so very important, because that then lays the path for you, right? It tells you that whether you're going right or wrong and what you're doing, and that's to me that is an important aspect of mentorship. But I think one of the important aspects is how we discuss as to what a new entrant in our business, in our industry, how does she find her mentor? I think one of the aspects that is that first, of course, you decide your area of interest. And once you establish whether it's servicing, operations, production, you then enlist. I think the right way to go about it is you enlist the top 10 guys, or the ones that inspire you. And then, I think make time. But most important is, a lot of times, a lot of responsibility lies on the mentor. But is the mentee also trying to do as much? So is she or he making enough checklists of how before selecting or making the right connection? Is the mentor really adding that much value to their life and is guiding the right way, sharing the right knowledge? So a new entrant needs to ensure that probably there's a checklist of people that she needs to communicate, find out whether this is what inspires her absolutely, and then go right ahead and make those relations and make the efforts to gain the person as a mentor. Is the mentor giving enough and more time? Because that is crucial for our industry, right? I think the one thing that our industry does not have time, and because we're always on the road, is whether our mentor has the time. And that is a big aspect in selecting the right kind of mentor. So this is what I think that a new entrant in the industry should, focus on while selecting their mentor. Sushma or Lydia or Poonam. Whoever wants to go for them.
I'm going to try.
I would like to address this, but the problem is, talking to a lot of girls who've been setting up on the helpline. I keep using it as a reference. That's a learning point for me. A lot of girls feel that there is no mentorship available. They don't know how to find these mentors. How do they reach out to them? And what is the approach? Like, while the points as to what they require from the mentorship is clear, but the problem is there is no structured program in this industry where we have a mentorship program going on. So that's all the questions that came up from girls who called up the helpline is that there's nobody to guide them, there's nobody to tell them how to learn. So it is sorry, I'm going to take a little digression here, and this is what also resulted in my proposing that we do a WeCare mentorship program for girls and invite leaders like you to come and give time and allow them the opportunity to get trained by you and guided by you. But this is a huge problem. They do not know where to go looking for these mentors within the industry.
Which is where the gap is, right? The gap is that we need to launch a structured mentorship program. And
That's
I think
right.
and you've taken a step ahead. Maybe you can throw some more light on that, because that will be really interesting for our audience.
May I just put my 2.5 bits in this? Just 2.5 pennies.
You need to put your 5 bits in it.
Okay. So, I think we're overcomplicating the conversation. You know why? Because what is a mentor? A mentor is someone who guides you and has a personal relationship. It's very important. I don't know whether a mentorship program on a large scale really works. It is about providing access to these ladies, what Poonam was saying, all boys. I'm not only going to be, I'm not into women and men kind of vibe, to the next generation, yeah, giving them access to the right voices, giving them access to the right insight. What we like, where Poonam was talking about, it needs time. If you really do a hardcore mentorship program, there is time that is required from a mentor that is taking on a mentee and guiding the mentee throughout their career path. Well, I think the first stopgap is providing access to information to the prospective mentee. Another aspect is also where I feel that, bosses, reporting bosses, can play a very important role in being a mentor. Who was our first mentor? For example, Lydia, I'm sure your first mentor would have been your boss or someone within the organization that has guided you through that organization and enabled you to reach whatever goal they or you may have set for yourself, right? Now, within the organization, I think it's very important to shift the narrative. What happens in organizations is that, especially in our industry, is that industry leaders or the heads of the organization do not share enough of information of growth prospects with people in their organization, with the fear that अरे कभी ना कभी ये तो अपना खुद का event agency चला लेगा or will set up their own event agency, because every person is viewed on as a competitor. So I think it is not sorry, I don't want to burst our bubble. It was a wonderful conversation. I think we're kind of overthinking it. I think we've got to take one step at a time. I think we've also got to shift our own narrative, our own concepts about what entrepreneurship is. I'm speaking merely as an entrepreneur. And we've got to influence the future gen through educative practices, which will then go literally result in what Poonam was talking, the flying of a hardcore mentorship program. So I think it is more a 360-degree perspective rather than just funneling it down and let's run a mentorship program. Lydia, I hope your echo is sorted now.
I hope so too. Okay, so I'm going to take off from all the points that Rima, Gitika, and everybody said. A couple of things here. I think I'm from a different background from all of you guys, which has been largely corporate and corporate spaces. Sushma, on your point, no, not really. No, my mentors were not really existent inside the organization. I think that's one of my biggest points as well, that very rarely do you find in a corporate world a mentor. Today, it's become quite, one of those things where people take on people and then sort of mentor them and guide them. Unfortunately, mine was also a niche industry, right? So not everybody also knew what events was all about. So everywhere that I went, I was literally starting an events division in every company. So it was very difficult, to find those mentors within that space. The only thing that I got was a guidance on maybe trying to set up that department versus, how to go about it per se. So one of the points that I wanted to mention was that Poonam said as well, is that, a couple of times I've been, some of the people who reached out to me to sort of say, we want to talk to you. There's some guidance that I want to probably take. It took them 5 people to go via to come to me because they found me very intimidating. And they said that, we didn't realize that we could approach you directly, though we had a relationship. It was one-on-one, and it was so strange. And I was like, what did I say or do in that? I consider myself friendly and open and everything. And then it was just, but then I realized that in a corporate structure, it normally happens that there is this whole, unfortunately, layered communication that comes in. And there's a hierarchy that develops as well. So people are a little, hesitant. Besides that, also, what happens is anybody who's coming from the outside often tends to come to you also with an agenda sometimes, the agenda being that, I'd like you to be a mentor. And then it's like slowly, like, can you give me a job? Can you, it's more of that. So then also what happens is then you tend to sort of hold yourself back on how do you mentor these people, because there is always, at least 95% of the people that have come and reached out to me after having these conversations, you really realize that ultimately they're just trying for a job. And, they're just finally saying that, can you please can I join your team if that's the case? And that's how it goes. So, and I've always helped them to try and say that, okay, maybe you're suited for an event agency. I don't have openings and I'm trying to put you there. So I've helped a lot of people that way in that sense of it. But the point I'm making is that, unfortunately, I don't think so. There is all that process that we were talking about, right? And I think that's where, Poonam, you come in, is that, it's not about just bringing in all the women and saying that there's a pool of women to mentor and sort of do it. But I think there has to be a process to it as well, because then you're giving
structured.
yeah, the structure, which is something that I feel is missing in every, and organizations today, I can say that Star and various places where I've worked in, have started putting these mentor programs together, where there are people who can go, but then you choose those mentors rightly, because there is a certain direction you want to go your life in. It was just not random. You can't go to a finance guy and say that I want to do events. It's just, it doesn't work. I mean, it's as simple as that. And most often people don't, like Shushma rightly pointed out, we are complicating things because people don't know um, the gamut of things that maybe somebody is whose life is, or their work structure is, or what are they mentoring in, to be. So if I have to go and find myself a mentor, I'm going to struggle, because I'm going to look left, right. And what I mean is that, not that I don't know who I can go to, but I'm saying in a corporate structure, I'm going to be a little hesitant to understand which is the direction that I want to go in. Who should I go to? Is it a CEO? Is it a CMO? Is it, it just becomes like, okay, if I'm in marketing, yes, then maybe I can go to a CMO and say that this is the direction that I want to go in. And, can you mentor me? What is the guidance that I would like to do? So that's my long and short answer, is that I feel there needs to be a structure. There needs to be there has to be also a certain way that people can approach you, so that it's a very clear, no agenda sort of conversation. But if you find a brilliant mentee, then and if you think that you can take them on board, then great. But if not, then it needs to be a proper mentoring session versus agenda led.
Guys, I'm back in the conversation. I got karmic punishment for talking too much, so my internet gave me trouble. But I'm back, and I hope all of you can hear me clearly now.
Yes, absolutely.
Am I bearable? Okay. So I heard all of you talking about how you could give this a structure, especially if you're talking about the experiential industry. I think we can take a two-pronged approach to this. One, of course, what Poonam said, and she's come up with this very brilliant mentorship program, which I think she'll be launching soon. That, of course, is an approach. It is a definitive approach. It's a structured approach. It's there out in the open for people to take advantage of. But then I feel mentoring is something that is also an extremely personal process, especially in the creative field. So now we have social media, and most of us are very easily accessible on social media. So I feel for the creative field, for media in general, it has become very easy for mentees to now approach mentors, for mentors to actually see the work of this particular mentee online and figure out whether they want to give their time to hone this particular talent, and then connect and take it forward from there. Having said that, I also feel that we still have a little way to go to understand the ethics of mentoring. And the ethics work both ways. The ethics work from the side of the mentor, the ethics work on the side of the mentee too. It can't be an agenda-based relationship, because most of my relationships that I've had with my two mentors, both men, have been extremely pure relationships where I have treated them like gurus, and they have, they have done their bit for me, but there hasn't been an agenda attached to that. And I think that really is a huge factor in deciding the success of a mentee-mentor relationship. Having said that, me as an artist is very different from what all of you go through in your organization. So I think as an artist, all of us who have received a bit of success in our careers need to just send out basic signals into the ecosystem there that we are ready to mentor people, and that's enough. And we will have more than many coming up to us and telling us to mentor them. But this is something that should just come from within, and this is something that is largely driven by mentors. So somewhere this is not really happening in our industry. And if it is not happening between women and women, if we don't have too many femtors out there, then somewhere we as women need to look within and say, why isn't this happening? Because the driving force of this mentoring relationship, women to women, are the mentors.
Can you hear me? Yeah. So, it's again a personal choice. Not everybody wants to be a mentor. and not everybody, is something that, it has to come to you naturally, right? So whether they want to do industry to industry, whether they want to do at community at a large, what kind of mentorship they want to do, it depends from individual to individual. So it's not necessary, but yes, I think the idea is that more and more women need to be recognized on the mentorship role, and they need to be acknowledged and respected to that level. That is missing for sure. But whether they want to be mentors or they don't want to be mentors is their personal choice at the end of the day. And whether they are capable to be mentors, it might not be a choice, right? It might absolutely not be a choice to be a mentor altogether. And they, probably don't want to, and just have their own, different sort of goals in their life. So I think that is another aspect that needs to be looked at as well. What happens is, even while you create industry to industry, is what I'm talking, Gitika. So I hope I'm making that point, that that you said that there needs to be, why are we looking at industry to industry? Maybe someone wants to make an impact on a larger scale. For example, Picton, which is a different sort of inspiration, different sort of mentorship that we follow there. And it's not necessarily, it has to be within the industry. That's what I'm trying to say here.
So, Rima, taking from what you said, that it is a personal choice. Agreed, it is a personal choice, and the day and age we live in, we have to respect people's personal choices, of course, 100%. But I just want to throw this one pointer into this panel, that right now, if I'm not wrong, we have about 19% of women in India who are in India's labor force. These are real statistics that came in 2020. Only 19%. And India's population, 48% are women. 19% are only in our labor force. And the calculations done, the predictions were that by 2025, if we just increased this figure by 10 percentage points, it would add $770 billion to our GDP. So somewhere I think women have to mentor. I think now it's the need of the hour, but there again, I mean, I completely respect that point of view, that it is a personal choice, because it is a very, very emotionally intensive process to mentor someone.
Also, it's a huge responsibility and time. You have to give a lot of time to it. You can't kind of pick it up today and give it up tomorrow.
Yeah, and you have, exactly. So you have to see your mentee grow. You have to ensure that you put that much effort to make a prodigy, and that's important. And if you're not capable of that, then don't do it. That's also a choice that you have to make. Very, very important. And where I said it's a personal, we made a point that it's a personal thing, it's one-on-one. It's not. You can impact at a larger scale. Mentorship can happen at a very large scale. And as long as it's structured and your goals are defined and you know what you want out of that mentorship, it can be done at a very, very large scale. You don't have to be associated on one-to-one levels. There are so many gurus, right? At this point of time, there is Sadhguru, there is gurus at every level. They're not personally connected to you, but what they teach guides your entire life. So that is a mentor as well, right? So it's at a larger scale. It's not a personal relationship. It can happen and impact your life in a way that you would never imagine, even at a large scale. In Pinkathon, I mean, the mentor is Milind Soman, right? And he impacts at a very large scale. He influences lives, but he's not connected with anybody personally. But you can impact so many lives with just having a structured program in place. And as long as you're able to measure, it can be scientific or it can be driven by some sort of algorithm. As long as you're able to measure what you're doing, then you're mentoring. Otherwise, you're simply advising and you're simply, guiding someone. But mentorship should be measured. Are you making something out of your mentee?
No, but when you're mentoring, Nima, you're also giving opportunities. For example, if I was mentored by certain people, I was also given opportunities to express my talent and to display my talent. Similarly, when I'm mentoring people, then I'm also making sure that they do get opportunities to exercise, their skill. Mentoring, I think women mentoring in India is something, it's so much the need of the hour, whether it's done structurally, like Poonam said, or whether it's done, one-to-one, like Sushma there. I mean, I've seen Sushma mentoring hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people down the years and giving so much of her valuable time, really. So both ways it can be done, but it's very essential. For example, if you look at in 2019, when the elections were held, general elections, we had about 78 women who went through the parliament out of 542 seats. That's just 14%. But even these 78 women were mentored by somebody in the vertical line who have gotten there. So I feel it's extremely important. We are heading into India version 2.0, and women will have to mentor women and increase our lot, increase our community, because that will result in the increase of our might in the world out there.
So I
Given
think,
our
what? Okay, 1 second.
I'll just make one small point. I think coming to opportunity, that probably is a byproduct of mentorship, right? So leveraging your networks for your mentee is going to be a byproduct, and that's when your mentee is totally ready. But that is still a byproduct, and it does not. I feel it does not fall in the line of mentorship. I mean, you are guiding, you are ensuring that your mentee is on the right path. Beyond that, opportunity will come, and you will leverage your network for them. The mentor will leverage, but that's a byproduct. First, need the guidance and the right path needs to be shown. Sushma, over to you. That's
So
my
I think so. While I really applaud Poonam and the team for thinking about mentorship, because at least there is beginning. The conversation begins. I think once the conversation begins, shift happens
Yeah.
automatically. The industry starts adjusting themselves, and we start working towards creating mentorship as the most required thing to do. So kudos, Poonam, for that idea. And yes, of course, we're going to be working together. I'm sure you're not going to leave any of us. Everyone over here on this panel is going to be caught by Poonam. Yet, yet I want to just state one thing, like taking off from what Lydia had said. I have been running as a because I'm also in learning and development as a field. For the past 10 years, I've been running a mentorship program for one of the biggest automotive companies in the country. So yes, corporate India has thought of mentorship actually a little while ago, and now it's become a common practice in corporate India. It's common. It's common. It's a structure. There's a system. There's a need for a system so that the future of the company, the sustainability happens, and growth happens within the company. That's the reason that mentorship platforms are created within a corporation or within a corporate, right? Now, similarly, for us, we have got to recognize that we've got to develop. If I'm just putting on the hat of an entrepreneur, okay, if we want to mentor within an organization, the other aspect of it is while we are mentoring within our organization, we've got to create a growth chart, a growth map for those who are working with us. So that's why, alongside mentorship, it becomes very important to have conversations of entrepreneurship. Minute we start creating entrepreneurs, automatically mentorship becomes an easier task for us as entrepreneurs. And this is just something where I'm putting on the agency hat and not the L&D hat. And I would also like to state is we've got a lot of upcoming mine, including education institutes, right? So Wiscraft Management Institute of Media and Entertainment is actually out there as an education initiative, education institute. We've tied up with about 8 universities across the country. Now, it also becomes very important for those of us who are specializing in event management, media, and entertainment as a core structure to ensure that each of our new entrants, or rather wannabe entrants, are mentored by the industry who's who, or even not even who's who, by those who have the most valid, credible knowledge and who are well-meaning from the industry to actually take on and mentor the next generation. So we actually have, I'm not plugging in my institute, yet we have a mentorship program within our course structure so that what we're discussing does not is not a challenge 3 years from now. And that's where we really have to go where the fish are, and the fish are for our new entrants, So I think if work happens on both sides, like what Poonam is planning for the macro level for the industry shift, and yet we have also to start focusing on new talent that is joining our industry. I think that's just 1.5, I think now it's 4 pennies. So my 4 pennies that I wanted to add to this conversation.
But Sushma, to this I want to ask you, because I really want to know, is that because you run a mentorship program, how are you measuring the success or the progress of the mentee?
So the a mentorship program is not something that call me when you are happy and you are sad and you want to know. A mentorship program is an ongoing, planned program that works along the mentee's graph, right? So what ends up happening is in a mentorship program, you map what is the objective of that program for the mentee. What's the career growth the person wants to create? What is the personality? You have to look at it in all angles, not only in your career, what type of personality you want to develop, what type of image you want to create. And what happens is you handhold that mentee on that journey of that 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, depending on how long that education program is, right? So BBM will be 3 years, so you're handholding your student for the 3 year batch. Now, the critical part is how do you measure it? The simple way of measuring it, there is like, I'm just going to focus on what Kritika said. Very important. There is a mentorship relationship. What is a two-way relationship that the mentor and the mentee require, which is actually a mentorship contract that is created. Now, when that contract happens, there are evaluations that happen on what is working at both ends. It's not just something you pull out of the hat and say, hey, hello, I'm your mentor, call me at any time, right? And the graph is meant is when you realize and evaluate that has your mentee reached the vision or the objective or the goal that they have planned. Now, usually that goal is planned along with the mentor because, like I said, a person who is guiding a mentee is someone who has got to learn the mentee. It's not just someone who comes out of the blue and says, I'm your mentor. There's a relationship that is created, a fundamental relationship that is created over a period of 6 months, after which the mentorship, kind of literally rolls out. Yeah.
I just want to rephrase my question. Is there an algorithm-based system that you have that you use to measure? Is there an algorithm-based, or it's just
no, there are. So it's not algorithm based as much as it is mapping a goal based. It's smart goal based system, which is used in learning and development processes widely. So it is a smart goal system. It, like I said, it does not need to be as complicated, yet it is to ensure that your mentee reaches their objective. And like I said, the objective and the goals are developed together. So that because, a mentee could have very myopic goals, not aware of what they could possibly accomplish. But there have been many success stories, and especially in Witchcraft Mind, I must tell you, we've got one set of 7 students who've set up a collaboration. Yeah, and they've executed a collaboration has actually been created out of a mentorship program, and through that collaboration, they've run about 4 events already, successful events. There's another one where we've reached out, and Aarti, for example, Aarti Mattu, she took on one of our students, and she not only gave internships, and internships is the critical part that I'm really talking about. As an internship provider, you actually can become an amazing mentor to that student. And Aarti, because of her guidance, that particular student is today running individual events with celeb events in Chandigarh, just fresh out of the oven student. So I think once we take on that aspect of how do we guide, how do we nurture, but in a very systematic, studied, evolved fashion, I think that is when a mentorship program will really get some teeth. It'll really make a difference.
Absolutely. I think that on the job learning and the internship is such a crucial part of the whole learning process. Yeah. Sorry, someone was saying.
Here, I want to pick Lydia's brains here, with your permission, guys. We're talking a lot about organizations and all of that. Lydia's handled many, many artists over the years. And since I'm an artist, I want to pick her brains and say that, okay, will this whole structured approach to mentoring artists work? One, will it work? And two, will it be restrictive in terms of numbers? Because programs can only have a number of people being mentored, right? Especially when they're beginning. Lydia, picking your brains on how can we mentor artists in the experiential industry?
You're partly right about the fact that you can't have it in large numbers, because I don't think so. There are that many people who can actually take on a particular artist and then go end to end. And it's also a matter of time, like how Rima mentioned, right? People have to have the ability to sort of guide, stay focused, and take them through that, be there for that person and take them through their journey when you're mentoring somebody. When it comes to artists, again, unfortunately, in the industry that we have, senior artists are not as open-minded as you are, Gitika, and not being able to probably take on as many people because they are very reluctant to share their own trade secrets as such. Very few people take on and guide overall in the creative fields, I would say. When it's easy to sort of look at, and at least in the organizations that I have seen, that most often corporate jobs, which are very marketing and finance, or those kind of business development, and those kind of jobs are very easy to mentor and take on. People normally have, especially because when you're going to study abroad, when you're doing your MBAs or any of these courses anywhere abroad, it starts with you having a mentor, by the way. In any of these alumni, they actually take on people and then they mentor you, and then you sort of move on to the next step. In our industry and in the creative fields, I don't think so that is anywhere close to I can barely handpick, in probably, at least to my knowledge, not have that many people who are there to sort of who you can go up to, approach, and have a very clear unbiased mentoring part that happens. In event agencies, and there are amazing women who are entrepreneurs here, so they would probably be better to answer. Often talent is mentored at a very production creative level, but not artistic level. So the artists are always treated as a very different, the different type of talent, right? And I think, like Sabas, and like you said, that some of these people who have guided you and mentored you over a period of time, who have been in the industry to know how is it that you need to develop your career, very few people give that or impart that kind of knowledge. And that part, I think, needs a lot more structure, like you said, a lot more people to come forward to sort of guide, especially in organizations. And what you picked as a point, corporate organizations which take on talent. And now there are talent management agencies who have come into the picture, and they're sort of building on people's abilities and trying to build a character out of what the person is all about, or a more than character, I would say a personality, so that then you're picked because of your personality, not only just because you're an anchor. And there are lots of people, right? Like you can find a lot of anchors, but it's the kind of delivery, the kind of subject knowledge that you have. Those are the things that people actually need to study, and it's an art. Like you sit and you actually, I know that you do, so that you are actually focused on studying, knowing your subject well, and that's the way you're able to deliver it so confidently in front of the audience when you host a show. But I have seen over the years some of the talent who comes with zero prep. They just take the script that is given to them. It's almost like a teleprompter read that happens, which is laid out there. Zero understanding of, or wanting to understand the product. Very few people are that. And when you try to guide them in that manner, they don't think that it's necessary. It's just about the looks and standing there and just delivering what they're delivering. But actually, when sports came in, sports is what brought in a very different type of anchoring.
Yeah.
Because that actually led to people not coming and standing there and being, just an anchor or being pretty or being handsome. It was more about having a mental communication. So you needed to talk to players, you needed to talk to coaches, you needed to know the subject, you needed to watch the game. So when we had Kabaddi, when we started Kabaddi, the anchors were made to sit down in the the control room to go through the entire match so that they understand. So when they go and in halftime actually discuss what they're doing, it's not just random questions, so that they can have a conversation, which is a good conversation, understanding the subject really well. So it takes time and effort as well, right? I mean, so these people were taken under the wings of the programming head at that time, who decided that that's what he's going to do. But again, it's also the interest and level that you want to actually people the aptitude towards it. If you want to really do that, or you want a fast, it's more of fast growth versus a sustained level of growth. Sorry, long answer, but that's what I feel.
No. I'd like to kind of continue in the artist zone here and also prick Sushma and Poonam's brains here. So, if you talk of solutions, I'm thinking in the years ahead, and I've almost made this commitment to myself that I will pull out time in the years ahead to run MC workshops across the country. Of course, you'll have to pay to sit in my class. And I've also committed to myself that I will probably do an IP. Don't take the idea away, no one can do it as good as I will. That where I will have 5 MCs mentor 10 new MCs, like you have on television. You have, all those singing competitions where they are mentored. So I've made these 2 commitments out there. And I want to put this one little fact out there about the process of mentoring. Everyone who's watching us, it's not an easy process to do, because tomorrow the artists that you're mentoring could actually grow and take your place. So you've got to be ready for that. And how I have sort of managed to deal with that is that, okay, let them grow, let them take my place. As a result, I will grow and evolve into something else, and I will take another place. And that is how the wheel of life moves. That is the circle of life. And you have to understand that well enough and be very much at peace with that to kind of be a mentor. We have the host who's come on, which is a clear signal
I have one
our
quick
time is up.
question. One question, Pooja, hold on. I just want to give a moment to Poonam because she's created this entire mentorship program. I think it's best because the name itself is about mentorship. So I think before we close, Pooja, if you could just give us 2 more minutes. Poonam, if you could tell us what the mentorship program is about, how can we make ourselves useful, even more useful, a little bit, so we can close.
I've actually been asked not to talk about it till we launch it on 17th. So let's wait for it. But as Voice of Women, we're going to all be there, and I'm going to be knocking on all your doors to make sure that you give the time that I need from you to mentor some people.
Yeah. So please talk about Voice of Women, please.
We'll do that. Pooja, I'll take 1 minute. I know we've kind of had this really interesting discussion from various aspects, but I just want to bring the focus back to the lack of mentoring for women. And I'm just going to use a TED Talk reference from Sheryl Sandberg and just quote some quick numbers that she spoke about. She said 190 heads of state, 9 are women. Of all the people in parliament all over the world, 13% are women. In the corporate sector, top level jobs, tops at 15 to 16% for women. And the numbers haven't moved since 2002. Also, even in the non-profit world that we sometimes think is being led by more women, women at the top are only 20%. So if women are already underrepresented in most organizations, especially at the senior levels, if fewer women get mentored, fewer women will rise to leadership. And as long as this imbalance of power remains, women are at a great risk of being overlooked, undermined, and harassed. That's my 2 cents.
I think the men are
Sorry?
I think the men are insecure. What's it?
I agree. I agree. And there is statistics that say that ever since the Me Too movement, men have started to shy away from even considering mentoring girls for fear of, getting caught in that.
Sure.
This conversation keeps getting more and more interesting, and I think towards the tail end, we've come to a very interesting conversation, and it probably isn't the ideal time to have to wrap it, but unfortunately, time is limited. Geetika, I'm going to ask you to do a quick wrap of this wonderful panel discussion that we've had this far, please.
Geetika is going to be one of the leading mentors in the coming times, and we're going to stop asking her to moderate and wrap up things.
Look at Geetika looking all shocked.
She's like, am I here? Yeah, we can hear you, Geetika.
So
Rap,
So
Gitika, you
Sushma,
have to
since
rap.
you asked her to stop moderating at some point initially in this conversation, why don't you do the honors?
Who, me?
Yes, you.
No, Gitika. Gitika is the best to rap. As a speaker. Gitika rap, no, darling.
Rap for us.
Not rap, as in wrap up the conversation. I think she can't hear us. Gitika.
Gitika.
Gitika is speechless.
Okay,
Rare
so
for.
Poonam, you rap. Poonam.
No, Sushma, you do it. I did my 2 cents, and now you can do the half.
Lydia.
All right,
Lydia.
I think we can end it by saying thank you to all of you because those were some wonderful insights. There's a lot to take back from this wonderful conversation, and we wish it could have gone on and on because there was so much, lovely content in it. But until next time, thank you so much once again, Gitika, Lydia, Poonam, Rima, and Sushma.
Thank you so much.
Bye,
Thank
ladies.
you.
Happy Women's Day again.
Bye.
So yes, those were two super powerful panel discussions. And with that, it's almost a wrap on this very interesting Power Women Forum conversations. But before that, I want to again acknowledge our tech partner Tag Labs and now invite Mugdha Gaonkar, Senior Correspondent, Event FAQs Media, to say a few words, which are her closing remarks as well, please.
Power Women Forum Conversations 2021. What a show, what a day. On behalf of Event FAQs Media, I would like to thank our keynote speakers, the panelists, the moderators, and the team from Tag Labs, our tech partners, for making this event a great success. I also thank my colleagues at Event FAQs and everybody watching the forum today and listening to our powerful speakers. This is me, Mugdha Gaonkar, signing off and wishing you all beautiful ladies a very happy Women's Day. Thank you.
What an amazing, amazing evening. With that, it's a wrap. Happy International Women's Day once again. Remember, ladies, be unstoppable, not because you're not going to have to face failures, but because you know how to come out on the other side stronger. Stay unstoppable. Thank you so much for tuning in.